Vince Adams,
Present.
Aaron Barstad, Bud Mathers, Frank Gallagher, Joe Graybill, and Michael Hildebrand.
Present.
All right, we do have a quorum. Just want to remember to talk into the mic. So just so everybody's aware too, we are recording this session, and the reason for that is just there's been some questions about some of the committee pieces. So we're not streaming it, right? So we're just going to be recording it just for the record. And then that way it's easier for us to take minutes and for things along those lines. So is everybody okay with that? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So because of that, we will need everyone to turn your mics on. So when it's on, you'll see the screen light. But I also don't know what that noise is.
Has something to do with the HVAC.
It's annoying, totally. Okay, it's just the HVAC. So everyone knows, where are microphones lately?
End of the month.
Okay. Oh, there's Joe. Yay. Let the record show that Joe arrived at 4:03. So we will be getting new microphones by the end of this month, and then some of these noises and things will be better. So just keep that in mind that hopefully by next meeting, this will be a little bit better. All right.
So are there any questions or corrections to the minutes? Then we'll let the minutes stand approved. And we're going to old business.
Okay, so just a quick update on First Avenue, and I don't want to talk about it for too much today because I think that'll be probably a larger discussion later. The idea of First Avenue was brought up to council, and some of you were there, and council requested that staff do some additional work on looking at multiple options. So staff is still working on some of those options. Once we have that information in place, I would like to come back again to this committee, discuss it a little bit, and then have you all make additional recommendations at that point, and we'll take it back to council. Does that seem okay with everybody? Oh,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
Okay, if that concludes old business, then we will move on to new business.
Okay, so also at that council meeting, so everybody knows, all of the stop signs that you all approved or recommended before were all approved last night. Was that all it was? Wow, last night. So they are moving forward. So just to refresh your memory, it was this 4 stop signs. Wait, go back. At the high school, and then at Oak Heights, and then at the junior high, and then at Hawthorne, and then at Foster. So all of those stop signs have been approved, and Public Works and PD are going to work on them, and they're all going to go in. If you all haven't met him yet, I want to make sure you all know Levi. And Levi is the one who is designing and engineering these various pieces for us and making these maps. So big thank you to Levi. So thank you very much. And so during that workshop, council had a lot more suggestions of additional stop signs. How can we make it? Is it possible? Okay, all right.
I can back and see if it's better.
No.
Separate mics, but
I'll just,
For a minute. Try turning off one of those deals. Your guys' mic, turn your mic on. It's.
turn it. Well, thank you. So we wanted to then bring back all of the suggested stop signs with the idea that we can kind of review them and you all can decide on additional recommendations to come back to council. You're not limited to these stop signs, so you all can keep talking about them, but we do want to talk it through and discuss what makes sense, because there's also a little bit of a danger with getting too many stop signs, because then the people may choose not to honor them and to run them, or may avoid them. And we also don't want too much stop and go traffic too. So I just want to make sure that whatever we are suggesting makes sense. So we've got a list of those suggested stop signs. So if you all look on your final page, that's exactly it. So those are the current signs, and we will start with the maps. Okay. There we go. Okay, so this was one of the first ones that was suggested. And so this is creating a four-way stop at Long Street and 23rd Avenue. Now, if I recall correctly, the apartment right there on both sides. And so there has been an increase in traffic sort of coming through that road. And it is not a four-way stop. In fact, and so there was a request for this one. So thoughts? I will say I have noticed that this is an intersection that is used by a fair amount of high school students and junior high students during those particular hours of early morning and after. But in other hours, you don't tend to see a ton of pedestrian traffic through there, but there is often a car or two waiting to pull out from there.
We have done a little bit of radar at the bottom of that hill facing east, not at the intersection. Tend to see really high speeds on the hill. They slow down substantially about the time they get to the new apartment complex there. And I assume that they're slower by the time they hit that intersection. And it tends to be pretty high compliance in between there. More in the 1900, 2000 block of long seems to be pretty good speeds. They tend to be running around 25. I can substantiate that with data, but I don't have it with me. At least during the day or the afternoon. So
My thoughts are, because these are new. My thoughts are, because these are new to what we're discussing, is I would probably take this list and go look at each one of these spots myself before I form an opinion on, the stop sign situation that we're looking at there, because I'd like to be more informed about the location. That's just me.
I can understand that. I actually did that myself right after that council meeting. So this is one that I personally can see a need for, just because that is an area that I see a fair amount of pedestrians at times with no place to cross. But what's everybody else's thought on this one? Levi.
I'll say that the closest gas station to the east side of town is you have to turn onto this road if you're coming off of Long Street. So it increases the amount of turns that happen off of this. So that's really where I see some kind of scary situations coming up oftentimes is coming out of there. A lot of people are in a big hurry to get to the gas station, it seems like. So some way of slowing things down seems appropriate.
That's also, if I remember correctly, the area where we have signage to go up to the middle school there, to the junior high, excuse me. And so, we've definitely seen an increase in traffic there. And one of the things that I think is a tiny bit challenging is that it looks like it should be a four-way stop based on where we have some of the other four-way stops, and it's not. So, any other thoughts? Yes, there would have to be a motion either way. To recommend it to council? Okay.
Second it.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, show of hands.
I would and be in favor of it, just because I know that location. There's a lot of people on 23rd Avenue. I do agree that some of these locations definitely need an on-site visit. Just because a lot of people aren't familiar with the dynamics of the intersection. Being on a curve, it's also a slight rise, but there's pretty good sized neighborhood on 23rd, and it is a loop between 22nd and 23rd with drop-offs of the junior high. And I'd be in favor of it, subject to, and I would agree with the motion, but I strongly recommend on-site visits to actually look and stand there and watch traffic. The dynamics of just 5 to 10 minutes is well worth it.
Yeah,
but-
one thing with. There's also an apartment complex there.
Sorry. If you
Yeah.
continue down 23rd South, there's an apartment complex at the end of it that also uses this intersection quite a bit. So it's yet another apartment complex that, needs to use this intersection and leads to more traffic there.
I believe there's 8 units there.
So they do have an alternative egress from that complex down Ironwood Street. So I don't know exactly how many of those would use it, but it seems very likely that it increases the traffic here.
My question would be, do we need to motion and approve or disapprove these all today?
That would be preferable. Council was hoping to move forward with these already, but we would want, but we don't have to. Some of these may need to have some further study, but some of them may not. And I think, again, remember, you guys give recommendations. So council may still choose to move forward with one that you all haven't approved, or or not move forward with one that you all are in favor of as well.
What they would like is our blessing as the traffic safety committee. But
Exactly.
if we
And
don't
we'll make
bless
sure
it-
we're doing a process,
Okay.
and we value your insight on this quite a bit too. So
So I have a question. Would we be able to review all of them first? And then go back and say each, what about this one, this? Because if we want to avoid approving too many, but we don't see which ones need it the most.
So to speak to that, I would also say that we don't expect you all to be experts on this either. We're asking you to give your opinion as the community. There has been additional research and stuff that's been on this as well. And we have the maps and we have Levi's expertise here. We have Sean Morgan, and then Joe has some background as well. So, and then I'm also more than happy to give my opinion. So we could go back and do this another day. It would delay the entire process by a month, at least.
And what I mean is the list we have here right now, could we go through it
Well,
and then move
that's
for each one?
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Oh, you want to go through them all first?
Right. And then kind
vote
of
on
pick
them?
the ones that are the slam dunk. We need to use.
Oh, sure. Let's go through all of them. If you all want to, and then we can go back.
Does that sound reasonable?
Even with that, we have some guidance that we want to give on what we would consider to be too much as well. So it's not like you all are being left to figure this out all on your own today too. So, okay, let's go through all of them. So 23rd and Long. Now moving on. Okay, wait, where'd you go?
Long enough. I was following the list on the
Oh, okay.
agenda.
So Long Street and Terrace Lane. Or Long Street and Oak Terrace. So
The reason for this location is what?
the reason for this location is what?
Yeah.
Is,
That's
What
the
do you mean?
motel.
Yeah.
oh, okay, was that like a pop quiz? So the reason that this one sort of was brought up is because this has been the site of multiple or close calls. And this is a space that gets a little bit awkward. Now it was designed to work this way, but as we are growing in population, some of the things that have been designed, I think we need to take a better look at. This particular one, I would recommend taking a look at and not necessarily voting on today. I believe that there's some additional research that internally we need to do on this particular one. But Levi, I know you were looking at it as well. So can you provide some additional insight for us?
Yeah, so this one's kind of interesting because there's a really nearby intersection actually coming off of 10th Avenue. I believe that the naming of the roads is a little bit confusing here. So if you continue down 10th towards this from Elm Street, then there's a really close by intersection that is also just a one-way stop there. But people kind of come down the curve from the west, and there's a lot of speed that gets picked up going down there, and then it causes some conflicts for the people coming from the Thriftway area there on the Long Street where it tees in. Sorry, I'm not really describing that very well, but there's also a lot of, when you pick up that speed coming westward, it's very hard not to cross over the center line, and that
Mhm.
also causes conflicts for people that are turning left onto Long Street from Terrace Lane.
It's definitely an intersection that needs to be looked at and addressed. I think there's a little bit of a question of if this is the best way to address it, and it really might be. We also have the Lynn County Mental Health right there and the hotel and some other pieces. So I don't think we've done any traffic counting on this particular piece.
I've done speed there though, and I have data for that.
Okay, give us that one.
So, including 8th and 10th, people turning there and at 10th, and it has an impact. So I can put that together for you.
That would be
We
fantastic.
can do additional gathering there, and we can put the counter out.
I think a counter on that one would be really important too.
This was the other day, and I may have got food from local grinds. And I was stuck at that crossway for quite a while because everybody's going and no one's stopping. And so I literally may not have broke the law, backed up and went back through there and went through Capitol and on the main, just so I could proceed with my one food. So there does need to be some more research, and there needs to be something, but what, I don't know.
So I've never had a problem. I drive through there periodically and I've never had a problem. I do know that sometimes there's quite a bit of traffic coming through there. As far as him being mentioned about maintaining a lane coming around that corner, that's just simple driving. That's just people not staying in their lane where they're supposed to be. But I think, yeah, some more research on that particular one.
And as a driver of that area on the regular, I'm going to be impacted by the decisions that happen on First Avenue. I know that when I hit that intersection, that intersection is going to impact me as an alternative to get home coming from the west. So I'll have potentially Osage as an option, or I'll come down to 228, and this is the route that I will pretty much need to take if I don't take Osage and cut through Nandina.
Okay, so do you want to point out that nothing has been determined
Right.
on First Avenue right now?
Right. That's
So-
just an impact, a potential impact, how those
Mhm.
two intersections do relate to each other. Maybe it needs controls, maybe it doesn't. So
I think this is one that is a little trickier than some of the others. I think the 4-way stop on Long and 23rd, that's going to be pretty straightforward. This one, I think more research is probably a very good idea. Okay, can we go to the next one?
Okay, I would like to add one thing about this intersection though.
Mhm.
Never mind the fact that I used to live on 8th Avenue, but I drive this intersection nearly every day and I'm very, very familiar with it. And it's also part of what people use as a bike route, and there's not much room on there. So many years ago, we put sharrows on the pavement on that road. They've since worn off, but at some point in time, as this becomes more controlled, stopped, the downhill eastbound lane between 7th and 8th, between 6th, 7th, and 8th, needs to have permanently mounted stop ahead signs, because as you come down that hill, you may find a queued up 2, 3, perhaps 4 cars, and you're coming down the hill with the intent of into town. You'll get used to it eventually, but the first few months and beyond, it's a blind stop around a curve.
Mhm.
So as part of this is not only a stop sign proposed, the stop ahead and or a pavement stencil as well needs to be part of this location's evaluation.
Well, and I think we should err on the side of extra signage and communication. Signage in Sweet Home is lacking in general.
Mhm.
And so, as we're looking at any of these stop signs, I think we need to keep that in mind for all of them. But like you mentioned, particularly if we have a blind corner.
Yeah.
All right, Live Oak and 44th.
I'd just like to point out that This one, there's a street sign there, but there's no sign, a stop sign on the post. So I believe this is just something that was missing, but it did get brought up the last workshop.
Were you able to find any of the, in the late 90s or early 2000s, stop resolutions for this intersection? Because people do tend to take stop signs and put them in their garage.
We do believe that this is supposed to have a stop sign
Yeah, oh, it very much
and
should.
that it just something happened and that stop sign was removed
Yeah,
or
if it
wasn't
was.
placed in.
I checked the inventory in our GIS systems and this one wasn't listed on there. So I have a suspicion that it was either never approved or was just never there in the first place.
I did look back through the Google Street Views, and it did not show a stop sign. I went back farther in time through the Google aerial images. The shadows created by the poles did not show a shadow of a stop sign on that. And it's big enough to do so, and it didn't. So I suspect there wasn't one. And with Live Oak being a continuous street all the way over past 26th, which has them, to 27th, it should have one. It should have had one, past tense.
There has been some documentation recording that one as it being there. So it's a little strange.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts on that one? This is one that I would really recommend personally that we move forward on because it really should have been there. And it's just one of those cases where it looks like something happened. Maybe in transitions between city managers.
Well, in my opinion, anywhere you have a T like that onto a main line, you should probably have a stop sign somewhere.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
I would make a motion that this location actually be approved to have that stop sign installed there.
Could you guys want to do that in the middle here, or do we want to finish everything?
I second that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You all do what you want to do.
Just in case.
Made, seconded. Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Do we have an approval on it?
Aye.
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 Okay. One down. Good job.
Yeah.
We didn't though. I mean, we never finished the vote. So
Majority though.
yeah, but we never actually finished the vote.
Okay.
So we'd have to go back. So.
Okay.
Do we want to do the first one while we're at it? Okay, we'll keep on going. So Adam, where are you?
44th and Airport.
44th and Airport. Okay. So this is putting a four-way stop at 44th and Airport. Yes, thank you. Let's show the whole. Can you close the, there we go. Beautiful. Is that 44th?
Yep.
Okay.
Airport.
So this is one where this has been something that has been continued to be brought up with me, with the community. It's been a bit of a concern. This is an area that at certain times does become a racetrack. And this is also an area that is going to continue to see some development. We do have a potential buyer right now who's interested in developing that piece. And then there's some other development coming both up over there and then down over here. So we're seeing, additional children throughout that area. And that is often, I have experienced people not liking me going the speed limit on that road. So, and there is not a safe pedestrian crossing throughout that area because there's no stop signs or crosswalks for a ways along that road.
For some reason, I'm kind of lost on this. Is where it exactly
On where is
is
it?
on air. I know Airport Road, but I'm just kind of not sure where that intersection.
A little
actually
higher
is.
is the highway. Boom.
So that's back towards the highway.
Yes.
If you're on Long
Yep.
Street and you head left on 43rd, it has that corner.
That 90-degree corner.
That
Yep.
90-degree corner leads to 44th is the next street, and that's a crossways into the new development there and the old development.
Got it. Okay.
If you see the cursor, that's the 90-degree corner.
Yeah.
And 44th is the first intersection.
So that's the new housing development right there. As part of that new,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
And then there's
Okay.
going to be, at some point, additional development, possibly a park in that space and some other things. So we're going to continue to see growth throughout that area. And it's very much a family neighborhood.
And there's no stops beyond that. Heading
No,
east.
yeah, I know the
No.
area now that it, yeah.
No,
picked
there
it
are
up.
It's a drag strip.
And I know that the speed limit is 35 out there and we drive out there quite a bit, going out to Foster,
Mhm.
doing things. And so I try to stick right close to that because there's people walking their dogs out there and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So, and there, like you said, there's no stop sign, even clear down to the end.
Mm-mm. And there's a lot of people there's a lot of people who I will say stick to the speed limit. And then there are a few people who will go through, and Sean, I think you probably can speak to
They
that.
have a ton of data on that street. And also this applies to the airport and Long Street and east of Hawthorne. Those all those areas, the vast majority of people are driving the speed limit or less. It is shocking how slow people drive on these roads. However, while we've been out there, we see these crazy people doing ridiculous speeds. I had two motorcyclists just east of Hawthorne recently. I don't know. I couldn't get a lock on them with a LiDAR. If I had radar, I probably would have got them. When I finally was able to get a lock on them, they were doing 46 in the school zone in front of Hawthorne. I started trying to get them back at 41st. And I've seen that out there on airport, especially airport, not necessarily long on that side of 43rd, but especially airport. You'll see a few vehicles moving really fast. That's the reports I keep hearing is there's outliers, especially in the evening. Presumably that's with some of those colorful characters. So does that sound pretty accurate? Like, yeah. So the vast majority of people are totally cool, and they're very busy. That intersection is incredibly busy when you're looking people in and out of there, and not going further east. So
So the cross street doesn't have stop signs coming either direction. So there's no stop signs there at all right now? Oh, on both sides.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to establish is there are two stop signs there and you want two more for.
and
Right. Partially
there
because
are-
people are kind of getting stuck in those neighborhoods too.
there are tons of pedestrians on airport east of that intersection that they do it already. They're already there. When I'm out there, I have to go around, and
Mhm.
I have family on that street too. And getting out and working on that sign that we had up there that doesn't work, never works right. Getting out there and working on that is I got to park out of the way and dodge traffic. And
Mhm.
so it's kind of interesting.
And there's a little free library, I believe, on that
Yes.
northeast lot there where people will go and dig through books and stuff. So that kind of leads to a little bit more pedestrian
Right there.
demand.
With little kids.
If they followed those stop signs, if you had stop signs in these locations they're talking about, it might, if they're going to honor the stop sign, their ability to drive super fast is going to be impeded. So
Mhm.
Yep.
mhm.
Does
Mhm.
Well, at least you don't have to worry about airplanes crossing the road anymore because the strip is gone. Because I remember flying out of here a few times, so.
All right, let's go
Do
to
you
the
want to
next
vote
one.
now?
Let's go to the next one
Okay.
and then come back because the next one is still on airport. And there's 46 and 47th. Is this 46?
That's 46.
Okay, so there's 46 and airport, which is just
Get the other.
just a little ways down. And then right after that, can you just show just on this map still is 47th. Now, if you go up on 47th, that actually takes you up right through that area, and so does 46. So there's the Sweet Home RV Center there. But go back down again for me. Where's the memory care? Just so that I'm
It's on 49.
it's on 49. Perfect. Okay. Because another option too could be go over to 49th. There we go. Deciding to do something like on 46th and then on 49th as well.
I would recommend,
Or wait, go back to 47th. So sure. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
I would recommend 47th more than 46.
Joe.
The reason being 46th is a local street. 47th is the arterial network classification,
Yeah.
airport road as well.
Hmm.
And 47th is a better street. And any of these will generate more traffic, like 44th Avenue intersection,
Mm-hmm.
when this other development happens.
Mm-hmm.
But 46 is more narrow, crowded. It's got a few little offset edges to it, and part of it's in really bad condition. Very
So
bad condition.
if 47th was done instead, it would help direct traffic along that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Live Oak, that's part of what I'm looking for. Live Oak feeds out to that one.
Right.
And so,
Which has a stop sign.
yes, that one there is a stop sign there.
Yeah.
There's just not down at airport. And that would help, I think. That makes sense. I personally think that makes sense.
It's also a slight bend of the road. It's it's a roadway that would get more use because it also links across to the north side of Main Street. Plus the fact, although there's no guarantee of the future, the previous subdivision developers on that south side property used 47th to enter the grid or the network of the roadways. That has obviously since gone, by the wayside, but 47th was their entrance to that whole development there on the south side of Airport Road. That can change. Somebody new can do something new. But I think that because it's part of the network, the arterial, that would be a better location. Like I say, 46th is already built out and it's a local street that's narrow and not in good condition.
Can we look at 44th again?
44th is a local street and it ought to be a collector because it acts like it, but that's a different issue for a different committee.
So how long, Adam, would the distance then be from 44th to 47th? Because I think one of the things we also want to look at is,
1,848 feet.
Quarter mile.
Just over.
yeah, just over a quarter mile.
I'm gonna say it.
Okay, so if we went ahead and added another stop sign at 46, how does that break that up? Because the other thing I think we should all look at too.
1,280.
Okay. Because I think one of the things we need to consider is those that are trying to walk and want to cross, not having them have to go too far to have a safe crosswalk. On 46, because then people could cross at 46. So might want to consider all three stop signs, because the other concern, I'll let Levi speak to this and anybody else who races, but if we did have exactly around a quarter of a mile, people might take it as a challenge. And so having another stop sign in there to break that up might be necessary so they don't just go back and forth and time themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of a free quarter mile time if you have it exactly at a quarter mile. So I think we might want to avoid having that. And there are other measures other than stop signs for calming traffic. I mean, we could have medians in the middle of the road, kind of similar to what we have on Highway 20, but on a lower volume, slower road. So there shouldn't be so much issue with visibility with those. And that could also present an opportunity to put a crosswalk through there without necessarily having to have a stop sign. So that's another option. Just wanted to throw it out there. It doesn't all have to be stop signs. We could do things to calm the traffic instead. It was pointed out to me that stop signs aren't necessarily recommended by the standards bodies for slowing down traffic. They're used for other purposes usually. So medians, ways to kind of chicane traffic and make it divert around things. Those are always options to get people to slow down if stopping too often is a concern.
So I'm gonna throw this out there, and I've like beating a dead horse maybe, but when we're talking about speed, we all want to slow people down in our neighborhoods and things like that. And you're right, stop signs aren't always the answer. However, it does assist in that ultimate goal. But I also believe in, that law enforcement needs to take a firm hand, especially in these troubled areas. And I've said it before, and I understand the manning issues and the staffing issues, but one of the things that I've talked to several people about over time, and a couple of them are retired sheriff deputies from other counties and stuff, that once you put the badge on, you're a traffic cop anyway,
So-
basically. And I'm just spitballing here from conversations I've had. So if you're an officer, regardless of what your other tasks are, if you see a traffic thing going on, you're supposed to be able to take care of it. I don't know if that happens here. Chief's not here to answer to it. To answer my question, as far as that goes, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole.
Well, can I go ahead and just interject then before? So
Go ahead.
one, we have increased the number of stops and citations by over 35%.
Right.
And two, there's a traffic officer position that is coming on board in late spring, early summer this year. So that is all, I mean, I completely agree with you. That is all part of this too. So just before we need to go on, part of the only way that this is going to work is by increased enforcement. So
We have to use multiple tools to
Mhm.
achieve the goal, bottom line. But it's just something that I've really been kind of beating up on, but I understand
It's
the
definitely
situation.
increased. I'm seeing a whole lot more. I'm hearing a lot more on the radio when I'm out and about. I'm hearing them talk about traffic a lot. So they're definitely doing more of it than they did before. That's anecdotal. She has the numbers. So
yes.
Yeah. And I know it came up, one other time. too,
definitely
that
hearing
things are
none of it.
improving,
Yeah.
but I just don't want to go down the deal over, like, we talked about earlier in the meeting, where we're just throwing out stop signs.
No, I agree. So, and I also, I mean, what Levi said is absolutely correct. Like, stop signs are not the be all end all answer here.
Right.
What is nice with stop signs is one, it can also really work on improving crosswalks, at least people's understanding of crosswalks, and then knowing to stop, which is something that in our community in particular seems to be a challenge. Even though it already legally pedestrians have the right to stop, but or have the right of way, and other cars are supposed to stop for them. But if cars are drag racing through, it's obviously a safety concern. The nice thing with stop signs is that they are by far the cheapest solution and they're the most immediate. And so, just being completely transparent there, that is an easy thing for us as a community to do. And we can always take them out if it ends up being a problem as well. So, but I mean, putting a stop sign in is like $50. So, whereas opposed to a lot of the other things are thousands. And so that's just something else to consider.
So that particular section, you're mentioning other measures, as that airport, that old airport land is developed, there'll be houses facing airport. So, and if they're fairly close, that construction could create a narrower vision to the road, but that other side, all the houses are set back pretty far and it's pretty wide. And we see that on 12th. I see that with speeds on 12th. If I go over there and look at it, all the southbound traffic, if you look at that road, there's wide open lawns there. There's less parking on the right side as you're facing south. On the left side, which is coming downhill, there's more parking, more people parked on that side, and they're much closer to the road. And Joe and I have looked at that one quite a bit, and I will see much faster speeds going south up the hill, compared to people coming down the hill. And I'm wondering if that could happen there too. And I'm wondering if there's some control that some things we can get in there with that as they develop. I don't know what's available, but
Yeah,
those measures
sim-
visually.
similar to like at Mountain View and Long there, how there's the island for the pedestrians and people have to slow down to go around that curve. It seems like that seems like a really good option. That's really what I'm talking about, is having a median there, something in the middle of the road that people have to drive around. That's not necessarily a big hazard.
And it's really cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. And can be very pretty. Once a development comes in, then there would have to be additional traffic studies done and so forth. But even without the new development, just fact is we know that there will be new development and we are seeing an increase in families throughout that whole area. I think we need to look at some solutions that are immediate as well. So, and I can tell you right now, there's no budget for doing anything like medians in currently. So
How about, is there on-street parking potential on that section
there could be.
on both sides potentially?
I mean,
It would require sidewalks and things, I suppose, but
I think we're going down a rabbit hole and
Okay.
we're trying to keep these to an hour.
sounds good.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to chat.
I'm good at rabbit holes.
The one on our list is right, same area, but on Long Street. Seventh. 46th is what's listed.
46 over 47.
So that's. There is 46.
I don't think
Here's
47th. I don't think 47th would be in the mix. It's short, very few people.
47th and Long.
Yeah.
40. Yeah, there's not one for 40.
So that's on the opposite side of the old airfield, right, on Long Street? Okay.
which is a collector. And 45th, 6th, and 7th are just local streets. Not very
Zoom
well
out so you
populated
can
at
see
the
where we
moment.
are. This is 46 in relation to the old airport.
I wouldn't want to say never, but there's unlikely to be any connectivity between those avenues off along to the avenues off of Airport Road. Bunch of houses in the way. Right.
You potentially have the same issue with racing up and down that particular road too. It's just the same thing, just on the other side.
Yeah, the new subdivision off of 45th there. And the new one that was just approved has both connections to 45th and 46th, or just 46th,
It was,
as well as the main one on 40th,
are you talking about the Coulter
the
subdivision?
colder subdivision.
That would start at 43rd for the first phase of it,
Right,
and then continue, I believe, with connections to 45th.
right. And they'll be connecting to 45th and 6th.
Yeah, they are required to do a traffic impact study as part of that subdivision. So more to come there, that we should have some data to work with.
Yeah.
I think we need to be very mindful of is that if we put stop signs on airport, would we then be creating people instead just going along and, just increasing that behavior on Long Street? So I think if we do anything on airport, we should do things on Long as well in order to try to mitigate that as much as we can.
So obviously, we're running out of time here and we have two more items on the agenda. Maybe we should table these until the next meeting for further discussion.
Are there any that we could move forward with or that you all would be comfortable to vote on? We still have the ones at Hawthorne and Mountain View. Are you all right with going a little over?
I'm okay with it.
I'm
That'd
okay.
be all right.
Okay.
I'd love to be able to have the option to bring some of these to council. So even if we don't get to all of them. Okay, cool. So Adam, can you move on to Hawthorne? That was our previous one.
You don't have a map for this, Levi? Okay, yeah, I'll do it this way.
And that's gonna be on the east side and coming out from Hawthorne, right? This one that you're talking about now.
I need to see
Yeah.
the map.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. Through that little S curve.
There's Hawthorne Elementary
Okay. And then
and Long. It just says add stop signs east of Hawthorne Elementary. So I'm assuming over here somewhere.
I kind of interpreted that to be at 46th. No,
35th.
40th or 41st.
38th. 38th.
38th.
38th. Where the new apartment and the new
So this
roadway intersection.
is 38th.
Yeah. When I saw that, I couldn't really think that there's much happening off the 35th. It's built out, same for 37th. The land is built out. But at 38, there's another apartment proposed. There's existing apartments there. And eventually 38 will go north and connect to Main Street.
So I don't think actually that was their initial intention, but I think that is worth looking at. I think if I'm if I'm remembering correctly, and Councilor Thor said if you have any memory of this too, I think what ended up being discussed was having a stop sign to provide a buffer for and in place for children to be able to cross where there was a four-way stop. Yes.
And that's close enough to the school. Leaves enough of a buffer for them to slow down coming in from east going west.
It's 900 feet from the school. A little bit less because I went to the center.
I wanted to say it was even closer.
I for some reason thought it was in here.
That's what I was recalling. I was thinking it was 35th or it was 37th because 35th is already a funky intersection. And so if I remember, I thought we were talking about making that a stop to try to make that a little bit clearer and make a little bit more sense.
Instead of having the mid-block school kid crossing between 35th and Clark Mill Road, moving the crossing to the school side.
No, having both.
Or having both.
Yeah.
There is a mid block right in here.
But if I remember right, and I could be totally wrong, so I'd almost suggest that we table this one and just get more info. That I want to say that it was to create crosswalk by Clark Mill, crosswalk in the middle, crosswalk at 35th, and then it's very clear where kids are crossing and walking. But I might be wrong in my recollection, so I need to kind of go back and look at the minutes on that. On look at our recording. So why don't we table this one for more?
Yes, I agree.
And we'll do some more research on this one. Okay. And then additional stop signs at Mountain View and Elm Street.
Did we have a map
Ooh.
on that one, Levi?
We don't have a map for that one.
I would suggest we table that one too.
Yeah, because that's where Elm ends. You either go left or right,
Mm-hmm.
and the through traffic is on Mountain View, basically going up and downhill.
Yes, which I think is why there was the request to look at that one. But that's also,
It's an odd spot, but I
It
do
is.
know I've talked to several people on that section down there, and I'm sure they would not be opposed to something like that. We
I
can look
have-
at later, because they do say the traffic is pretty hot and heavy coming down off the hill or going up on the hill.
I think it is. Do you have
I've been
data?
there. I have data. I've been there at least twice. I can't remember if we went a third time or not. Each time I've been surprised. This is absolutely bar none the fastest, least complying street in the city that I've seen. And I've seen 50 miles an hour in the school zone at the bottom of the hill. And then and that sometimes comes from actually just from Elm to the school zone, but especially coming from Turbine. And
Yes.
I've actually heard the least amount of, this is probably one of the least amount of complaints I've gotten is this particular street. But when I've asked people who live there, they say, yeah, they see it. So
Yeah, I remember this one now. I for some reason I didn't put this down. I think I may have suggested this a little bit. Each morning I drive this on my way to work, and it's me or the school bus. One of us has to back up a little bit before the intersection so that we can have enough room to shuffle through. Whether that's due to people parking to do landscaping on the surrounding properties, people parking too close to the stop sign because it's the easiest parking to their house. And people do come at high speed, so sometimes if you don't have enough time to stop, like I'm afraid someone's going to hit a school bus is my main concern each morning.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree with this. It's known as Elm Street racetrack sometimes. So
I've seen this too. So we don't have a map. I wouldn't mind some more data, but we also could just put it out as a recommendation. Something needs to be done there. I'm just not sure exactly what that is.
And there are a lot of pedestrians. I'm one
Yeah.
of them
Our
that hike up Turbine to the end, turn around and come back. And one of them is 80 something year old Ruth. Anyway, and so there's no sidewalks.
sidewalks we're working on.
But that's, it's out of city limit too. It's beyond city limits. Just up the road.
The turbine. portion.
Yeah.
Oh, the
turbine.
turbine
Yeah.
portion, yeah. Yeah.
So, but they do come down very quickly and you've got momentum.
Yeah, I believe the road changes somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Joe?
What time?
21st.
Is that where 21st becomes turbine is
Yep.
somewhere right in this corner?
City limit line is along Cedars.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're hauling through here.
Yeah.
On the way down.
All right. Well, we've gone through all of them. Let's start over and vote. Y'all want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So can 23rd and Long.
We still have a motion on the floor for that one, or do we need to redo that one?
We still have a motion on the floor.
Okay, so we're just.
We can do the vote. If you want.
Let's
Your
do
card.
the-
All in favor?
Aye.
Long and Oak Terrace. This is the one I recommend that we get more data on. Does anyone want to make a motion to do anything else? Okay, cool. Live Oak and 44th.
Make a motion that the Live Oak have this stop sign at the 44th Avenue intersection.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome.
Or what?
Four-way stop at airport and 44th.
I'll make a motion to install a stop sign at 44th and Airport.
Second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then 46 and airport.
So,
Or 47th or both.
so I would like to make a motion that at 46th and Airport and 47th and Airport, we install stop signs. Did I do that right?
You did that quite well.
Recommendation.
Yeah, it's a motion.
Okay, making motion. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
You raise,
Aye.
Aye.
okay, any opposed? Two opposed?
Yeah.
So 3 in favor.
Sorry.
Only in that.
On airport for 46 and 47.
47. They both. They'll get them.
Okay. I'm fine.
Okay, well, it passes. So
It passes.
did you want to say anything about it? Okay, I'll move forward. Additional stop signs at Long Street, 46 and or 47th.
I move that we put stop signs at Long and 47th.
Motion been made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed?
Yes.
46 or 47?
47.
47.
That was the one, the photo.
Yeah. Not for me.
Okay, so you oppose?
I oppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Passes for 47th. Anybody making a motion for 46? All right, so we'll go back on Hawthorne, since I think we need to get some additional information unless anybody has a motion that they would like to do otherwise. Okay. And now the one I'm really curious to find out about, additional stop signs at Mountain View Road and Elm Street.
I move that we put additional stop signs north and south on Mountain View at Elm Street.
I second that.
But we don't have it.
We don't have a mouth on that one. Okay.
Because currently the only stop sign is at Elm Street. Or on Elm Street, excuse me.
That's correct.
Okay, motion been made. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, there goes our stop signs. Back over to you, Chair.
Okay, do we have anything for the good of the order?
I looked online last night to see if the minutes from last meeting was listed in the agenda and minutes on the city webpage. I didn't find it.
I can answer that, Joe.
Okay.
So we didn't have a quorum last time,
Oh,
and so there was nobody to approve the minutes.
good enough reason.
You mean the previous minutes, not the ones that we have here?
Right. Well, these. I looked for these from the previous meeting.
Okay.
I
believe
thought so.
That's what Cecily
Yeah, we
told
did.
me
Yeah, I
before
thought
she
so.
went home.
Oh,
You,
that was me.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. It was a trap, but it was
Cool.
me.
Yes, and we do have. Yeah, the last minutes were from February 21st,
I see.
because the
Okay.
last time we didn't have a quorum.
Right.
I see. Okay. I did not go back on it. Okay, that's fine. I wasn't sure.
Well, and that should have been, the last one should have, no, they wouldn't have they would have been in your packet, but it would have been listed here because they were in the previous packet. So this is February 21st was the last time we had a quorum.
2 months ago?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'm blurred.
One thing I would like to throw out that was brought up at the workshop by one of the council members was making like a four-way stop at 228 and First Avenue. Maybe look into that. I realize that's a state highway, but from a safety issue and tying it in with First Avenue, it might be a good thing.
So I will say that we are putting something in our TSP to have them look at that location because it is an ODOT managed road. We can only make requests and sort of request for them to look at it. But there's some additional discussions that will be in place on looking at safety along our entire corridor and trying to actually get a larger regional plan that would look at all of that, and that would be included there too. So I think that's a very good idea.
Okay, if that's it, meeting adjourned.